Whereas with us, I'm having the guidance, you saying, eat what makes you feel good, and giving me principles to kind of stop thinking of food as anything more than fuel. And as tasty as it is, I'm still like, okay, this is fuel. And sometimes I do get cravings. I'm a human, but we've got these lizard brains. So when those moments come along, it's like, okay, how will I feel after? It's just like a very simple question, or like, maybe I'd rather drink some tea, or maybe what I'm actually looking for is fulfillment here, and I should go, hug my boyfriend, or like play with my cats, or go on a walk and spend some time alone and kind of figure out um, what I feel I'm lacking. Because it's not in the fridge, like you said. Whatever it is, if you're feeling an impulse, it could be the root of stress or anything like that.
Maybe. Hello honeys, it's Emmie. If I look familiar, this is because I just filmed part 1 of this video. If you haven't seen part 1, it is in the down bar. So go ahead and click the link in the down bar to watch part 1 of this video. This is part 2 of a conversation with my client, Jessi. In this part of the conversation, we talk about the fact that Jessi came into this program to adjust her mindset around food. The reason why we started working together wasn't for the purpose of weight loss, but it was because the way that she was viewing food was off. So we have this really, really fascinating discussion about why is it that you came to a food-based program because you wanted to loosen up about food? It seems very paradoxical, if you will, but we have such a fantastic conversation that I really think will resonate with a lot of people. Another thing that we discuss is the fact that Jessi, and I'm sure perhaps you watching this video, you have a lot to offer and you are a lot more than just thinking about food all day. I find that a lot of people, the only sort of thought that crosses their brain throughout the day is food. And they say, I have kids, I have a job, I have a career, I have a relationship, I have a significant other, and all I can think about is what am I gonna have for dinner, how many minutes until dinner, this, that, and the other, and they don't wanna do that anymore. This was the case with Jessi, and so she talks about how she broke free from that mindset through our work together, and it is very inspirational, so let's get into it. This is part 2 now. But the fact of the matter is that you're the average that you spend of the people that you spend the most time with and the people that you talk to the most. And so if there are people and you want to be like these people, then start interacting with these people. At the very least, make that the soundtrack you listen to. If there are people on YouTube that you watch that you want to be like them, listen to them in the background as you cook or as you clean, so that environment, this is the number one environment, is clean and it's with good vibes and just energy that you like and energy that you gravitate toward. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is you said, you finally got this feeling of like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I think that it's an identity for people that struggle with food. It is part of your identity to struggle with food. And to always be in this place where you're like, oh, I wish that I could have this mindset. I wish I could have this mindset. And we're so used to that being our identity and being something that's a part of us that when you let go of that struggle with food and you get to that place where you feel a lot more free around food, it can feel kind of like empty space and kind of like that part of you that always struggled. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't struggle with that anymore. Like, what do I even think about? Like you said, food was always on your mind. You could be driving a car, but thoughts about food were going on in your mind. So when your mind opened up, did it feel like empty space? Did it feel like open space? Was it this weird place of, oh my gosh, I'm not constantly thinking about this struggle anymore?
Well, a quote that I really love in the book Tribe of Mentors that I'm reading is, with empty space, you're going to fill it with something. So the empty space in your mind, by replacing those thoughts, training your mind instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have eaten that or something. It's like, okay, that's okay. I'm really glad that I enjoyed that. And that's another quote that I love is, don't regret anything, because in the moment, at that moment, it was exactly what you wanted, if you did A, B, or C. So I think just filtering your thoughts, kind of understanding where they're coming from, and then training your mind to, instead of having the Stockholm syndrome with being victim to the food and to mindset and things like that. Kind of, taking control of your mind, kind of controlling your thoughts, because at the end of the day, your thoughts dictate where you go in life.
Mhm. And you, especially Jessi, you have so much substance to you. You have incredible talents, you have a great personality. And to be thinking about food, like any average Joe on the street could be doing that. A 4-year-old can be thinking about food. I always say a 5th grader can count calories. They can do the math to count calories, and you are more intelligent than a 5th grader. And then somebody like you, especially Jessi, you're such a creator. You have an incredible mind. You have incredible spirit. There's so much to you that of all people, you deserve to use that brain space to do. You are just so unique and so talented. Use that brain space to dedicate to your talents and to your passions. And to people that are listening that are probably like, I think there might be more to me than adding up that something has 250 calories and something has 300 calories. And when I add those together, I have this many calories. There's more to life than that. And I know that you're also very social too. And you are in a relationship and you are spending a lot of time with others. Did you notice that you being around other people changed as well? Did you feel more present? Have they noticed anything different? How has being with other people changed? Because before you speak, there's something that I just want to add in, that I talk to a lot of people. And I remember the other thing that I was going to say. Yes.
Yay.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to say is that I talk to a lot of people who say, I can be reading a book to my son, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, how many calories do I have left before lunch? Or like, why did I eat that last night? Like, food is just what's running through their mind, and they're like, I don't even feel present, and it's just very weird. I feel like I'm living in this shell. So how did your relationships with others change as you sort of freed yourself from that black and white jail mentality with food?
Well, like you said, there's so much more to life than food. When at the end of your life, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, so glad I ate blank amount of calories per day. Like, so glad that gave me an extra blah, blah, blah years. Nobody needs to be counting calories. But I realized I actually started to resent work, and I started to resent anything where I felt like I would be compelled to eat something out of my mind's comfort zone. So I'd go to work and be like, oh my gosh, there's, vegan meatballs everywhere. And like, this looks so good. But I didn't bring my lunch. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to feel when I eat it? My jeans going to be tighter. Like, it was, I love what I do for work, and it made me not who I want to be, which is an appreciative, grateful person to be having the opportunities that I have and to be enjoying life. Because at the end of the day, all we want is to be happy, and you can't be happy in a life where you're constantly obsessing over what you're eating and what you're doing wrong. So when you have this amount of freedom, when it comes to food, when it comes to thought, it completely changes everything. It makes you, honestly, I'm a better sister, daughter, girlfriend. I'm so much better because, and I was actually talking to my boyfriend about this yesterday. He was like, you've evolved so much. You used to be very obsessed with working out. You didn't want to go out to dinner with me because you were afraid there wouldn't be options, and now it's like, I don't know. Wow. I'm very happy.
And like we talked about just now, Jessi, that you have so much to you, and you're so much more than counting calories or going to the gym, or to not go to a social event because there's too much anxiety about the food that's going to be there. You have such a light, and I want that to be with the people that are lucky enough to spend time with you. And I'm so grateful that you have freed yourself to that now. And I think what's also so hard for people, Jessi, is that they can even see that in themselves. They're like, I know I'm more than this. I know that there's more to me than counting calories. And I know that I want to go to dinner with my boyfriend, but I just can't. It's too much anxiety. What advice do you have for that person who's like, I'm so annoyed with myself. I keep getting in my own way. Like, why can't I just relax and let go? They're probably watching this interview with you right now, Jessi, and they're like, I want to get to where Jessi has gotten to, but I just can't. It's too hard. What do you say to that person?
It's a process, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it is something you should kind of get to the root of, in a way of, why am I unfulfilled in another area of my life? Am I, why am I obsessing over food? And also ask for help, because that is the most priceless advice. Not even asking for help, just fill out the form on Emmy's page. Because honestly, it's a complete game changer. And you can watch all the documentaries in the world. You can read all the self-development books. You can even take this course, but if you're not doing the action of, the inner work, nothing's going to happen. No one's going to do it for you. So, figure out why you're feeling this way if you can, and on your own, or do it with help, and invest in yourself. Invest the time and energy in yourself that you deserve. Because honestly, now I know I'm equipped to continue on with my life in a very happy, healthy, free way. And I hope that everyone is willing to give themselves the same investment, because it will completely change your life.
So, the Slim on Starch program, it's a food centered program, and you have your nutrition coach, but you also have your mindset coach, because I mean, this whole conversation has been about mindset and how whatever the problem is, the answer is not in the fridge. It's not about the food. I always say to people, you can binge on anything. I don't care what the food is. I've heard people say, oh, you can't binge on carrots. You can binge on anything. It doesn't matter what the food is. It's about the action. It's the hand to mouth. It's the uncontrollable. It's not about the substance. It's about the action. So how was it that, this program, the Slim on Starch program, how did this have such an effect on your mindset and actually free you? Because a lot of people would say, oh, if you're looking to have get into the gray area and relax around food, don't do a program that's focused around food if you want to free yourself from that. It seems very counterintuitive to be in the position that you were in and then join the Slim on Starch program, because a lot of people come to this program for weight loss, but it wasn't about that for you. It was about food freedom, and it was about relaxing around food. So walk me through that, because I'm sure there are people that are confused by this, and they're like, wait, she didn't come for weight loss. She came for a different reason. How does this make any sense? So can you tell us about that?
I remember our first phone call, I was telling you how I was in the kind of black and white mindset, the all or nothing. And I remember I spoke to my aunt, who is a therapist, and we were talking about like certain programs that would be beneficial for the mindsets that I was noticing. Um, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like what I need is guidance. It's not just because with most food oriented binge restrict therapy, it's like eat whatever you want, go for it. Food freedom, this is your path to happiness, whether or not, you're eating it all and like feeling crappy still. It's just like do it, listen to what your body needs, kind of, but usually your mind's getting involved. And I remember talking to you and being like, I think that kind of sets people up for failure, because then you're back in this, when you're out of that and you're like, oh, well, great, I ate everything I want. Then you're like, okay, now I should restrict because I just did that for so long. Whereas with us, I'm having the guidance, you saying, eat what makes you feel good, and giving me principles to kind of stop thinking of food as anything more than fuel. And as tasty as it is, I'm still like, okay, this is fuel. And sometimes I do get cravings. I'm a human, but we've got these lizard brains. So when those moments come along, it's like, okay, how will I feel after? It's just like a very simple question, or like, maybe I'd rather drink some tea, or maybe what I'm actually looking for is fulfillment here, and I should go, hug my boyfriend, or like play with my cats, or go on a walk and spend some time alone and kind of figure out what I feel I'm lacking. Because it's not in the fridge, like you said. Whatever it is, if you're feeling an impulse, it's, it could be the root of stress or anything like that.
Maybe you feel like this too, Jessi. I feel like a lot of things out there I disagree with, that I feel like a lot of the mentality out there is that you can either focus on your mindset or you can focus on the food and the nutrition, and they're mutually exclusive. And if you want food freedom, you're doing food freedom. You can't eat healthy. That is the route that you have to go. Or you're focusing on your health and your nutrition, and you are like balls to the wall. It is just nutrition. Your mindset has to fly out the door, and those are two mutually exclusive things. It's so extreme. The extremities of those two are unbelievable. Why can't we go the middle way? Why can't we have both? Why can't we have a healthy food freedom mindset around food and be nourishing our body with foods that actually make us feel good, that are going to make us live a long time, that are going to protect us from diseases of dietary excess? Why can't we have both of those things? Why does it have to be mutually exclusive? And that's what I hope to do through this program, through Slim on Starch, is allow us to have both of those things. And for individuals that are trying to break free from black and white thinking and break free, from restrictive eating, are taught, well, then you have to go just the food freedom, the whole thing, health at every size, that type of thing. And you have to be so extreme about it and eating everything at any time, whenever. But we kind of want to have both, have the food freedom, have that balance, nourish our bodies with healthy food, but also be in the gray area as well. Maybe, do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
This program is definitely the middle because, and also, I don't think it's wrong for someone to want to feel good in their bodies. That's kind of taboo nowadays, I think, is like, and of course, yes, I think everyone should be unconditionally loving to themselves. But for me personally, I was like, I want to feel really good and I want to, have more energy and I want to look in the mirror and feel really confident. And I felt like I was losing that part of myself. And it all ties down to the fact that we've worked on both nutrition and health and mindset instead of, like you said, them being mutually exclusive, because they go hand in hand. And if you go with one or the other, if you're just working on mindset, then like you said, probably ice cream for every meal, then that's going to send the pendulum back swinging. And then if you work just on the nutrition and health, which I was really doing on my own, it put me in this mindset of like, oh my gosh, the same thinking, the pendulum swinging back and forth, black and white, all or nothing mindset. And I don't think either of those are extremes are very healthy. So having that middle ground, which is where we're at now, um, it's amazing, really. And and that's the thing too. I thought, and I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'm good. And then you realize like, oh my gosh, if I'm good, then why? Because I'm eating right, but my mindset was just not comfortable with having pizza. And if your mindset's not comfortable with having pizza, how are you going to enjoy life? You know what I mean? You have to have this like, you have to have middle ground. It's all about the gray area. Like you say, there's a million shades of gray.
Gray is growth. There's one shade of black, there's one shade of white. There's a million shades of gray, and that's what allows you to relax and enjoy life. And we're in a very delicate time right now. As you said, it's kind of taboo to want to feel good in your body and like what you look like. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, to want to like how you look and like how you feel in your clothes. And it's a difficult time for that in our society and health and everything around that. And also, I think it's important for us to have a little chat about as well, that we really need to put on the blinders, because we talked about this on our first phone call, Jessi, that there's so much information out there. Opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody has one. And you just don't want to get into everybody's, because when you do that, everybody's going to disagree with everybody. And what you're doing, somebody will say you shouldn't be doing it, and then 10 people will say you should do it. And so it's really just a matter of understanding what works best for you, what truly makes you the happiest and healthiest. And that's that. that's it. It's done. Whatever makes you feel the best, that is what you have to do, because you know you better than anybody else knows you. And at the end of the day, what is healthy for you is going to be different for everybody else. Every single person on this program, this is why we have a signature system in the master's program. I don't say to you, Jessi, you have pizza. You have your Whole Foods pizza. I know Whole Foods pizza is part of your system. Jessi, you have Whole Foods pizza once every other Saturday, just like everybody else in this program. That's what we do. You're allowed to have Whole Foods pizza every other Saturday. No, that's your thing. That is your system. And we've been working on what your system is because it's for you. Was that something that was difficult for you in the past, that what was healthy for you may have been different from what somebody else said was healthy? Or did you find that you were doing things because other people said that it was the healthy thing to do and it would confuse you?
Definitely. I realized when I was about 15, I was keto because I found out one of my friends was keto and she said that really worked for her. And the older I've gotten, the more information I've gotten that's, what I consider to be factual. That is factual. I've been like, how did I get into a place where I was so obsessed with, and that's something crazy I've realized. You go in magazines and it'll be like, what, Jessica Alba eats in a day, what blah 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 eats in a day. And it's like, oh, like I want to look like her. I'm gonna eat what she eats. But we get so wrapped up in what other people are doing that we don't tune in enough to ourselves. That tends to be the case with most people. And that's why I think that this program is really great, because if you buy another meal plan, and God knows I've done a lot of that in my youth, and it was all like, you're going to have half your plate's salmon and the other half is like, something that has like 0 calories. And it was just very much, set in stone. It's like, okay, what if I don't like salmon? With us, it's okay, you don't like raw vegetables, cook your vegetables. Okay, you don't like potatoes, eat rice. It's very much what you want it to be. This is like the happy medium,
It's the middle way.
the
And
middle way.
it's fluid and allows you to enjoy life. You have so much around you. You have your boyfriend, you're with your boyfriend's family, and there's so much for you to soak in and enjoy. I remember we had a call when you were on vacation, and you said that that vacation felt so different to you. Do you remember that?
hmm It's a very interesting place to be into when you're coming from a past of restriction, and you want, like we've spoken about, and you're looking for food freedom to be like, okay, well, it's taking pictures of my food going to make me less free when it comes to food? But it does the opposite, because it's like, okay, take a picture, done, eat it, enjoy it, love it, be mindful, be appreciative, and then move on. Because I think it's it's interesting to be in a place of, from coming from a past of binge restrict, and wanting to see your body change too, and doing it in the healthy right way. And I think a lot of people, because like I've said, diets are so normalized, I think a lot of people have gone through the binge restrict cycle and they're like, oh, well, is it healthy for me to pay attention to what I'm eating? But in this way, it is. And if you have any questions, you have a team that wants you to be successful, that supports you, that's non-judgmental. They would really start cutting grass right now. Do you hear that?
Oh, same thing here.
Perfect timing. Thanks, guys.
No, but you're exactly right that usually the ruminating thoughts about food are circling around in your mind. You eat something and then you think about it for hours afterward. How about that's my job now. Like when you were making your system, you typed it up and then sent it over to me, and then I went through it so that you didn't have to do all the thinking, like, should I do this? Should I do that? Is that good? Is that bad? To have other people there and have other eyes on it, you can just sort of like pass it off to somebody else and be like, figure this out for me. Do you think this is the right thing for me to do? And have the feedback.
Exactly. And
Valuable.
our time is like way too valuable to be obsessing over food, and that's why I think it's so important to kind of pass the torch off to you, who and Kiki and Kara, who are just so terrific at helping you find the answers or discovering the answers, really discovering the answers, because they're all within us. Us realizing, like, I deserve this, you know, and this is what makes me feel the best, that's already in there. A lot of times you just need help figuring it out.
Mhm. And you were like bottling up with so much knowledge, and not even, you know, knowledge about nutrition, knowledge about self-help and being your best and brightest self. And I think that finally it was just like, okay, I'm going to put it into practice. Like what we talked about at the beginning of this call, having the mental masturbation, thinking about all this self-help stuff, and you listen to the podcast and you're like, oh, I love that idea. I love that philosophy. I love that mindset. And then actually putting it into practice. And you had done so much of this that it just flooded into who you're being now. And then before we even got on this call, we had a quick chat about how, like, this is not the end. You don't know what you don't know. You know, we have so much that we still want to learn and put into practice. And the day we stop growing is the day we start dying. And we always want to be growing and learning and putting new things into practice and running experiments and trying things out, so that we can become the best version of ourselves. So
Exactly. And that's why I think that vacation was so. Oh, did you say something? It kind of delayed.
you're good.
Oh, when I was on vacation, I think the reason it felt so different is because I was like, you know, I can eat this really random, like, mushroom snack. It was like dried mushrooms. And for some reason, anything that comes in a bag, I used to be really freaked out about. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't know where it was made. I don't actually know what was in it. But I found this peace with it. And I was like, you know what? If I don't like it, I never have to eat it again. And it's just like what was there. So I found that vacation was so different. And like I said, I used to resent going on trips because I was like, I don't know what food's going to be there. And when I get back, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to drink green juices every day of my life. And that's not the case at all.
You've done terrific. Do you have any final thoughts for the viewers? They'll probably want you back because your energy is like so, oh, it's
Thank
like
you.
all over me. I love it.
That is the best compliment. Wow, I love that. I would say final thoughts. I definitely was on the fence about the master's program. At first, I was like, heck yes, gonna do it. And then I forget who I talked to. They were like, oh, well, you seem in a good place. Are you sure you need it? And I was like, maybe I don't. That's true. I am in a good place. And I remember finally I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I remember I messaged you like literally the day after I started master's program. And I was like, oh my gosh, this content is amazing. I have so many more questions all of a sudden. I can't imagine how I would have felt about all these questions I have if I hadn't have continued, because all of my questions, you know, that I had, I remember the next week they were all answered and you were like, here, this video will like explain it all to you. And it's definitely worth exploring. And I'm very grateful for you all because, like I've said, very life changing to be able to think about the things that actually deserve your energy, the things that you want more of in your life. If you want more freedom around food, that's what you need to be thinking about and figuring out. If you want more stress about it, then those thoughts will come if you choose to focus on them.
Mm-hmm. So well said. Well, thank you, Jessi.
Thank you so much, Emmie.
I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next video.
Woo!